All right, finally into the game. So let me get everything set up here. We have a best-of-3 semifinal TvT. In the top left of Aggressivon, we do have Clem. And in the bottom right, we have Spirit. And we have another TvT. Great. Clem just defeated Here Marine 2-1. And Spirit defeated Wayne in a TVZ 2-1 as well. Although the one game that he lost was kind of a very unique game. It doesn't happen very often. Turax basically hard countered by a pool first Baneling bust. Like that doesn't exist most of the time. So anyway, I would say that Spirit looks to be in good condition. Clem, though, particularly good condition in this matchup. So I have a heavily favored towards Clem winning this series. Not only did Clem look good in his last series, sure, but it's also just that he seems to be the best TvTer of the non-Korean player base. Which, again, like a year and a half ago, you would not be saying for Clem. It was the thing that he struggled most with, and then even leading up to, I would say, maybe a month or 2 months ago, it was certainly not a statement that could be made with a period. It was more like an ellipses, like a ... maybe a question mark. You were like, is he the best TvTer of the foreign scene? But I think now, especially after he defeated Maru offline, spoiler alert, I think you can actually say that he is the best TvTer of the foreign scene. And perhaps one day he could also be called the best TvTer, but we need more international tournaments, I think, for that to happen. Anywho, so this being a whole, you know, basically foreign tournament, it is on the European server, which Koreans kind of go like at, understandably so. I expect him to win this tournament if he only faces Terrans. Now, Max Pax will probably remain to be his most fearsome opponent, but even then, Clem also seems pretty good at TvP most of the time. So I wouldn't be super worried about Clem losing this tournament in general, I guess is what I'm really boiling it down to. And not even talking about his TVC, because we already know what's happening with that. You know, his TVC's never been in question. Clem, 2 racks opener, by the way, guys. 2 Reapers. However, Spirit, with a little bit of a late pullback on some of his units, does lose the SCV on the command center. Now has a Hellion, but 3 Reapers. Actually, still kind of scary, because the Hellion should not be getting a shot off on more than 1 Reaper at a time. In these conditions, you know, that's what makes it very scary. Is it as useful as the Reaper plus its grenade? Question mark. Now 4 Reapers to 3 plus 2 Hellions. Well, that will do the trick for sure. For sure. Clem is still building Reapers and is now also rallying his own Hellion across the map. He's looking to bust up this ramp, but Spirit is prepared for this. He's going to get a decent shot with the Hellion, start things off. Second decent shot as well. Third shot also takes down a Reaper, which is really the goal here. And Clem is going to be missing out on some of that early game aggression as he loses this battle even quite hard at the end of the day. Indeed, quite hard. Spirit managing to survive with 2 Hellions and 2 Reapers means that he certainly won that particular micro battle. However, his command center, not that much farther ahead than his opponents, thanks to Clem's earlier micro win, where he did kill the SCVs, so that's something good for Clem. He really did need to do something. You know, he's still dead behind 2 workers after all. So all in all, Spirit does manage to hold on to an economic victory, but he will have more things to worry about than Clem necessarily has to worry about Spirit, just because with 2 barracks, there could be 2 options. There could be a faster stim, medevac, bio, you know, everywhere at once play from Clem, or there could be more of a standard into technology, into 3cc play. And you just don't know until you get a scout, and Spirit, you know, is not going to have a scout because he is going into his 3rd CC, which is far more expected from the guy who went 1-1-1. He could have gone 2 base committal, but it's so rare in TvT nowadays. So yeah, you know, you expect the 3rd CC. If Spirit does anything aggressive, it'd be a medevac, which is something that Clem could deal with, and much more likely it's going to be right into the Ravens, because this is going to be his advantage. So while Spirit might be a little concerned over what the follow-up is from Clem, our 2 medevacs heading into my base right now, he, at the end of the day, has the economic advantage, up 3 SCVs, and a much faster third CC. He also has the tech advantage. So as long as he doesn't get severely out of position, Clem's Medivacs and Marines flying around actually isn't the biggest problem. But that is the crux of the issue. This is what we're waiting to see. Does Clem get his Medivacs all around Spirit's army, dodging and weaving in and out of Viking shots and siege tanks? Or does Clem run face first into a couple of Vikings or a Cyclone or whatever it is? It's actually Spirit is going to go for, not a drop, but an attack initially. 2 Ravens in the main base with a lot of auto turret. 1 gets immediately locked on, however, and that is bad news. Going to have to use an interference matrix. Better than the alternative, which is losing the Raven. And the front is not going to get anything done either. In fact, actually, well, you know, the tank kind of safeguards the front from this particular army. Spirit was probably hoping that the Medivacs would have flown a little bit more to the left so his own Cyclone could get a lock on. Instead, he misses it. Doesn't know 2 Medivacs heading across the map. His supply depot is coming down, but is not finished. It will not see the Medivacs that are now heading into the main base completely undetected, are going to be able to completely unload. Oh, no. Oh, no. Now, there are some units for Spirit waiting, so this won't be the end of the game at all, but it just is a bit disappointing. Interference Matrix will take 1 Medivac out of the equation, meaning that the 2 Marines there die, which is actually not that big of a deal. Overall, still a successful first attack from the person who really needs to do damage. But a successful attack is in, you know, it does something, and it kind of lives. Doesn't mean that it's a massive success. Maybe success really isn't even the right word, it's just like it's an okay attack. It did a thing. It didn't do the thing, though. And the thing would have actually been slaughtering 10 SEVs, 2 Ravens, and, I don't know, opening up an opportunity for this push on the third base. That would have been the thing. As it is, Clem is still trying to push up to the front. He did kill 1 Raven, so taking away another interference matrix gives his push a little more potential. As recall, he does not have his own Raven for his own interference matrix. He's gonna have a tougher time cracking Spirit's defensive setup. But that's when you just doom drop, because you're a Terran player, ain't ya? Cyclone lock on to one of the least important Medivacs that only had 1 Marine in it. It does get the kill, but the tanks unload, the tanks seed, the Marines unload as well. Interference matrix from the Raven will not really be adding, I think. Well, no, it should add enough. It'll add enough. That's a lot of Marines. That's actually a lot of Marines. And Spirit has plenty of concave available in his own main base. He's going to drop after the drop of Clem. Clem dropped on top of the tanks, however, already taken them down. So Spirit tries to drop in return, but a little bit too late, and is now dropping into the fire of the tank. Still will have enough Marines to actually win this battle by the looks of things, especially because he has 1-1. No, I was wrong. Scratch that. He does not win the battle despite having the upgrade advantage, and Clem will stay on this third CC. What a bother. This one very injured tank adding so much value finally is going to get taken down. 7 SCVs are dead, but I think that's going to be it. I think it's going to be it. The upgrades really should be kicking in any minute now. Every time we see a Marine versus Marine battle, it really should be that Clem loses it. I swear. But 1 more tank trying to anchor this third base attack, and Spirit, without any tanks of his own right now, waiting for one to finally produce, has no anchor to his own defense. The 1-1 upgrades are about to become even as well, as Clem is about 15 seconds away from that, but Clem, not looking to overstay his welcome, actually leaves. Which actually is probably not necessary, but he was probably worried of Spirit having another 20 supply army somehow. You know, it's a very difficult game to keep track of. Or of having a drop, which he didn't exactly pull back entirely, but pulling back halfway at least gives him the opportunity to run back home a little bit quicker, but then also not to get overwhelmed as soon as he does unsiege his tanks to respond to something. So it's basically the safer move, however you slice it. Thank you to Golden Turtle for the 38 months. My nephew is having a Ninja Turtle themed birthday party in which we all wear Ninja Turtle themed shirts. It's gonna be very exciting. Weekend I'm watching the old Ninja Turtles, not the new ones. Blah. All right, so 2-2 is on the way now for both players. Clem managing to bridge the gap of the upgrades a little bit, but still behind, probably 30 seconds. He has taken an army supply lead as well as a worker lead, and his 4th CC is matching that of Spirits. It's just making up for the earlier command center deficits, if you recall. Liberator on the bottom left actually gets found out, not by the medevac, but by a couple of Marines. What are they doing there? But that means that it won't scout the medevac, although the medevac is flying into quite a little turret ring and it's boosting in as well. They're already committed, you know? And commit. SCV is going to be under fire. Not sure he can grab an engineering bay, and he actually didn't fully unload, so absolutely not. Trying to attack on the front lines as well. Spirit's Liberators are about to make an appearance. However, this one flies right over top of missile turret. Won't actually kill it. This left side one actually is going to get a decent amount of SCV kills by the looks of it. In fact, both of them might be doing a decent amount as Clem is not paying attention back at home. He thought he had the defense against the Liberators, but he does not. However, he might crack Spirit's third base. Spirit does finish up his upgrades. That is a lot of Marines for him, but he's running into the tanks at this point. Third CC actually does go down, and Clem has taken care of the left side Liberator, and the right side Liberator is no longer doing damage. Spirit losing his third CC. It's a pretty big blow. Not something he cannot recover from, though, to be honest. Like, he actually could recover at this point. We're that deep into a TvT that, assuming that you don't take an atrocious battle as well, you could probably replace it. 2-2 is about to finish for Clem, and right on time as well. Could not be better timed. As Spirit sieges up his tanks, it looks like his Marines, with a slight upgrade lead, managed to kind of push through. But reinforcements are here. More tanks are behind the ones he did take down, and Spirit supply is in the gutter. Certainly not making up for the lost third CC at this point. And a little surprised he didn't actually just tap out right there. There he goes. Yep, GG. Game number 2 is going to be on Royal Blood. In the top right, we do have Clem. On the bottom left, it is Spirit. Dun dun dun. Well, Spirit played a fine game. Fine game. He actually won out the bigger micro battle in the early game, I would say. Since I've seen so many games where Clem actually wins with those starting units, it was quite important that he managed to not just hold off, but win the micro battle. However, when it came to deflecting Clem at his peak, when Clem has units that move quickly, Spirit could not keep up. Spirit did have an advantage. Spirit had the worker advantage, and he had the tech advantage. So, I didn't actually check this, but he should have had more tanks by like 1.5 or something. He obviously had more Ravens, 2-0. He never actually got to Vikings, which that is a choice, obviously, that Terrans can make, either to add on the more air superiority or go into their own faster Marine medevac. And Spirit chose the latter. But it still gave him 2 Ravens, 0, which we know is incredible. And really could have been more useful. But one thing that they're a bit weak for is dealing with harassment and multi-pronged attacks. Then they're not the most bestest unit, right? And one even got shot down because they're all so difficult to keep alive. And then what happens? Then that led to a Spirit who was out of position, but it wasn't actually all that bad even at that point. It was that he still could not break the position entirely that really started to grate on Spirits. And that, you know, 3cc versus 3cc, equal economies, great. Spirit still had an okay army and superior upgrade. Should still be actually feeling quite decent about the game. But Clem just kind of kept sticking where he shouldn't stick. It's like the glue just wouldn't actually dissipate or whatever glue does. And you're like, gosh darn it, I'm gonna have to rip the drywall off to actually get this freaking thing down. And while he never actually got to rip the drywall off, the point is, it was a constant annoyance for Spirit, who wanted to have the moment in which Clem overstayed and wanted to break him, but Clem played a smart TvT. He pulled back at a point in which maybe he could have been overwhelmed, and then continued with his aggression that just was finding more success than Spirit's. As Spirit's only aggression was actually those 2 Liberators, which were almost very good. I thought they were actually going to kill even upwards of 20 SCVs, but Clem did respond. Clem losing a early micro battle once again, by the way. 1 Reaper to 1 Reaper. Clem loses his. That's actually, for him, the worst thing ever. For Clem, it's unbelievable. Can't believe I lost 1 Reaper to 1 Reaper. But in general, honestly, that's kind of bad for a professional Terran player, just because you should always be able to retreat. And he was unable to. So 1 less Reaper to attack with, if that was his plan. 1 less Reaper to defend with. As Spirit does start to move out, Clem is finding himself a little undervalued on the army here. Cyclone boots up, Marine will pop out, but the amount of units he has is not so good. This is probably one of the better scenarios, honestly. Assuming, yeah, when 2 SCVs die, it's really not that bad. Yep, saves one of the natural. The reason I said it's a better scenario is that if Spirit had actually thrown all of these units at the front, he probably would have stalled the command center, I think, just barely. And then he would have still gotten probably upwards of 4 SCVs. Although, well, hey, hold on. If he gets 6 SCVs, I think that it's okay. It's probably the same results. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, almost got 6, 5, a little delay on the gas. Like, yeah, okay. So probably fine whatever way he did it. Either he busted into the natural or attacked the Reapers in the main. But Clem, you know, would have gotten completely overwhelmed in the natural because he just simply did not have enough units. Splitting the power meant that Clem could kind of let his natural go a little bit. Just a shame that he wasn't able to save those 2 extra SCVs. If you're cheering for Clem, of course. If you're cheering for Spirit, you want that game 3, then it's quite good for Spirit, who now has a 6-worker lead. His 3rd CC will be a little bit later than his opponent's, but probably not by very much. I imagine this is banking up to 400. And Spirit actually has a tank advantage, which I think people would usually like. Auto turret's gonna grab 1 SCV, and that is it. 2 Cyclones at the front. We're hoping to find a tank unsieged or something, but we're not able to do so. They also could have found the tank, to be honest. Clem's plan was to probably let that Marine tank the first shot, Cyclones double lock on, and then boom, it's dead. But Spirit's probably having lost a tank in similar fashion to Clem previously. Had its Marines, and that's literally all it takes, is to mess up that dynamic. It's just a couple of your own Marines in front of that tank. Little counter Raven harassments. There's really nothing punishing Raven just being all around your bases since someone's going into Vikings, and the 2 Cyclones of Clem were just on the front line. They actually have returned home, but they're definitely not in position to stop this. Three SCVs killed. Decent amount of lost mining time. Little delay in the supply depot. Not too shabby. Clem is looking to kill the Raven, however. But Spirits, perhaps again wise to this, just leaves his Raven in deep space. Without a Viking, can't kill it. So Spirit looks to even be chasing, honestly, the response to this Raven with his own units. So I think we're just seeing 2 people who've played each other a lot. And as it is, I guess it looks like Spirit won't be able to win this battle. If it was 1 Cyclone, yeah, then, you know, maybe. But yeah, no, that was actually a little bit too much dedication there from Spirits. Manages to save a Cyclone at the end of the day, which is the most important thing, Helens or whatever. Clem is not going to see this army. Yes, he is. Okay, very important that he sees the army and gets a lock on. He's going to chase after that tank, and I think he's going to be able to grab it. Yes, he can. Escape out the left side. And while it might take a little bit longer for him to get up on that high ground to defend his 3rd base, it's not really what his Cyclones really want to be doing at this point either. Vikings did make an appearance, by the way. Do not grab Spirit's Raven. And we'll lose one of their lives, but Clem did not go back home to defend his 3rd. He actually went across to attack the reinforcements, which I don't think is a bad idea at all. Like I said, they probably wouldn't have been very good defending a 3rd anyway. Best thing they could do is catch the reinforcements. Some very expensive reinforcements as well. Viking goes down, tank goes down, Viking number 2 goes down, the auto turrets, and the Ravens will survive as the Cyclone just tries to buy some more time. I mean, it's not going to do very much else, but whatever. Another SCV. Hello? Another SCV. Hello? Oh, shit, man. That's tilting. That is tilting. Waste the lock on the SCV instead of the Viking, but yeah, I think Clem's done microing that. Back at home, he is now completely safe. He has missed a couple of SCV rounds by the looks of things, so he's, you know, he was spending a lot of time microing. So SCV rounds, mules being dropped, he is missing some things. His stim is also much, much later than Spirit's, possibly the result of getting those Vikings. Spirit also got Vikings. Clem has 1 additional tank though, so I'm trying to guess if he was just late to starting the upgrade or not, and I can't tell you honestly, but the point is he is later to the upgrade than Spirit is, and Spirit's actually already working on his combat shields, but Clem is actually the one getting aggressive. He has a slight Viking lead, Now 2 tanks ahead of his opponent, although one is at home. And is looking to advance. Whoop, he almost messed up his tank micro. We have an SCV pool alongside the Marines. Auto turret should be slapped down. A little bit of missed micro from Clem, but the SCV is also not mineral walked past the Marines. Are not as effective as they could be. Finally, though, as auto turrets do get slapped down, everything will be cleaned up at the end of the day, but Spirit does lose 15 SCVs in the process, and with only so much more army advantage, can he actually go across the map and do the return damage he needs to do? The army supply advantage for Spirit is actually even greater than it appears. Keep that in mind. He is going to have combat shields versus no combat shields, 1-1 versus no 1-1, and 4 tanks to 1. All added up together, that looks to me like more than 13 army supply advantage. That feels more like 30 or 40. Yet Spirit does not know that. And Spirit is not going to race across the map immediately to try and get some counter damage done. He actually picks up 2 medevacs, which, you know, that actually might be fine. They might do really a good damage, but it's kind of similar to the earlier Reaper thing, which is like, well, if you brought everything to the front lines, you could probably overwhelm their army. Splitting up your own army might result in a little less damage overall, but in multiple places. We'll find out. The 2 tanks do unload and do get sieged up in Clem's natural. 4th CC also under fire. Supply depot is getting destroyed, but Clem has plenty of those. More importantly, that 3rd CC is actually going to get broken. 1 tank is not enough to hold on. The Vikings not even able to kill that Raven once again, and the SCVs have to be pulled. Spirit looks like he did choose the right decision. I think either way you slice it, he does clear out Clem's army. The lack of tanks was just too big of a problem. But it does look like Clem will be able to stabilize, but he has lost 19 SCVs. 4th CC still not being finished, and it's taken him so damn long to get back to mining on 2 bases, much less 3, as his 3rd CC. Was it destroyed? It was destroyed! Okay, well that's a lot more damage, obviously. Clearly that is a problem. Clem not able to hold on to multiple locations. I think would have also struggled to hold on to 1 either way. Spirit was able to utilize everything I just pointed out to great effect. And will continue holding on to a lead thanks to that kill on the 3rd CC. If Clem could have gotten that 3rd CC slapped back down, 4th CC down, turning into a planetary, he's only 6 SCVs behind. He probably would have recovered financially. And his army also is okay. One thing that didn't really happen right there was a trade on armies. So while Clem's economy took a gut punch, the army supply remained stable. So Spirit is going to be able to build more. Given 30 seconds, he'll have more of an army. Right now, it's actually something that Clem can work with. Upgrades are even. And now we have Clem with a very important battle that is not going to go his way. Too big of a concave. Spirits will fight back and take us to game 3. It's not really gelling super well for him. Even the first game, which Clem won, he lost the early micro battle. He did so again in game 2, and then lost subsequent battles. So it just got worse and worse. Well, I guess I mean, it was a little more complicated than that, that's for sure, because he did win a battle from one angle, or from the other angle, the more important angle, he lost it because he lost all of his tanks. The top left, the dragon scales at his Spirit, bottom right at his Clem. And I was quite scared that Spirit would lose his opportunity to clap back. He did not. He sent his units across the map, and I would say, most importantly, broke that 3rd base. Which I think was inevitable no matter what. Again, whether he divided his army or came full on with the army, you know, the 3rd base was getting broken for Clem. The biggest issue was that Clem didn't save his 3rd CC. Because again, I think that is a real dramatic change. His SCV count was really fine, only down by 5 or 6. His army supply was fine. His command center count was not fine. His muling and his scanning was not fine. And his upgrades were once again going to be behind, but I think if you had a 4-base setup, you could really have a strong case of playing into that mid to late game TvT, where, yeah, you're on the back foot, but it's so damn difficult to kill a Terran. You know, Clem would have survived to a later stage. But that kill on the 3rd orbital really put him into an all-in position in which he did all in, and that didn't work, right? So we have Spirit going for a 1 Rax expands. Clem, ditto. Both players not particularly known for their cheeses. Spirit doesn't bother SEV scouting, so technically he has a little bit of an advantage for the early game. Clem has knowledge, and knowledge is power. Sure, but problem with the 1x expand is that you can't really do a whole lot to punish. It's kind of the point, you know. You take greed, you take the money instead of the ability to attack and punish. So what I guess you could do is go into an even greedier setup, but there's only a certain amount of time that you can really make it greedier without getting punished for like a 3rd CC command center timing, for instance. So, you know, for now, both of them can't really punish each other for the 1x expands. Okay, yeah, okay, fine, we get that. The question now is what Clem's knowledge of his opponent does to his build and his advantage as we get into the 3rd CC stage. Because that's almost for sure where we're going. No 2 base all-ins here. Spirit is playing a little more defensive because he has no idea what his opponent is doing, and Clem does like to actually go factory expand with a decent amount of Reaper Hellion on this map in particular. Despite there being a ramp, he just does it anyway, and he's won with it too. So, again, the little trading, the tiny little trades that go alongside the imperfect knowledge that is StarCraft 2. You don't have map packs. So the guy has to build a bunker, but he didn't CV scout. Was this scout 100 minerals? I have no idea. Probably not. But then the bunker's also not 100 minerals if you salvage it. Yeah? Someone's gonna figure out what this all means. But for now, I'm just gonna look at the numbers and tell you that Clem has 2 less workers, but with his knowledge, he is going into an on-location 3rd CC. Now, just because he knows his opponent 1x expanded doesn't mean that Spirit isn't going into some type of 1-1-1 attack, like a medevac, like Clem usually does. So that's what I was trying to explain. It's like, yeah, you could try and be greedier with your 3rd CC, but you still don't know what their 1-1-1 setup is, if it even is a 1-1-1. What if Spirit was crazy and went into a 2-1-1 after this? So it's a bit of a gamble still for Clem, even though he knows his opponent won't have something really dangerous to throw at him. At most, it will be harassment, but still, harassment could bop a building 3rd command center, or certainly stall it out. But Clem chooses wisely. The worst case scenario is a medevac with a cyclone or a tank, and more often than not, it does not go into the 3rd CC, it goes to the natural of the main. And at that point, Clem would just kind of calmly take care of it, right? So he is getting away with this. He's choosing wisely. He's using his scouting to his advantage. And Spirit now with the scout is like, well, shit. That 3rd CC is much faster than mine. And because of that, Spirit really needs to do something, but because he chose what he chose, you know, not just the command center here, but also the Raven opener into the Hellions, actually the Hellions being far more important, there's not much attack potential, is there? He doesn't have an extra tank or an extra tank and a half that maybe he could have gotten had he not gone for 4 Hellions. He doesn't have a medevac to fly across the map. He has 2 Ravens, which are also still pretty useful, don't get me wrong, but really the problem is no tanks with those Ravens to immediately go across the map. Instead, 4 pretty useless looking Hellions who are long past their prime in TvT. So Clem with a now substantial lead. 3rd CC on location. Spirit's hesitant to get his own on location despite that scout, figuring that Clem could come across the map with a meager amount of units and stall him out. Exactly the point I was trying to make about Clem's 3rd CC. It doesn't take a lot of units to kill a brand new 3rd CC. So Spirit has to play it safe, go for on location, or not on location 3rd CC. And is going to fall farther and farther behind. Clem's stim is faster than his opponent's. His barracks production is faster as well. His upgrades are not, assuming Spirit can actually afford his 1-1. And Clem now has the position on the map. Now, again, doesn't know exactly what Spirit has, and there could be a chance, there could be medevacs, but he knows the 2 barracks aren't done. So if there were medevacs out in the field, what would they be full of? 8 Marines, 1 medevac? That's not enough to scare him. So he knows that he's going to be able to contain his opponent. And if a medevac does pop out, he can handle it with his reinforcements. So what he really has to worry about now is Spirit once again pulling the SCVs with some cleverly placed Ravens and entirely breaking his army, similar to the last game. That Spirit can then immediately counterattack, and that's something that Spirit really he needs to do. He doesn't just need to break out to allow his third CC on location. He needs to get a counterattack set up. Here we go. Ravens did come in from the backside. Got 3 interference matrix. Now Clem did unsiege 2 out of 3 of his tanks in time. Yet still, 2 tanks go down. His last one might go down as well, as that Cyclone is hungry, looking for that lock on. Actually denied it thanks to the Marines repositioning, but you can see that Clem is losing a lot of his army units. Able to evacuate with his Vikings and his Raven. The tank will end up surviving. Now his third is in trouble. His reinforcing tank did not go over there to help defend. Even if it did, there's 1 interference, but he's still left over. So not actually capable of doing so by its lonesome. And Clem actually going to try and break this with the SCV pool. I thought he was going to try and play this safe, but absolutely not. Clem's going to try and break it right here, right now. Stims in with some medevacs to help out, but the SCV losses will be big. And the tanks themselves, actually, for Spirit, will not go down. Not quite yet, anyway, but eventually they will. The drop will occur. 1 tank left over for Spirit, 1 tank left over for Clem, but Clem lost 17 workers. Now down by 13. His armor supply also a little suspect, but you know what? He actually managed to get ahead of those upgrades. Spirit's engineering bays were faster, but his upgrades did not start on time. So Clem is about to have 1-1 upgrades and maybe 5 seconds of combat shield timing. Spirit has to be very careful about overstaying his welcome, and he knows that as well. He's going to pack it up and go home. He did what he needed to do. He broke Clem's contain in a very impactful way, got the counterattack in, and forced Clem to make a tough decision. Either pull the SCVs like he did, or play it in a more calm, but perhaps even more expensive maneuver. We don't know that if Clem didn't pull the SCVs, that he wouldn't have had to lift his third CC and be contained on 2 bases indefinitely. The hope would be that if he lifted his third CC, he'd eventually get enough reinforcements, but we don't know that would have been the case. The medevac from earlier, I guess that was very injured, comes in here. I guess the Viking also tried to chip away at it, but wasn't able to kill it, so the Marines do unload, get 9, maybe 10 SCVs. Just the 9. And do not seem to distract Spirits a tremendous amount. I think that's actually really the most important thing there. 9 SCVs killed is very important. Clem really returning the damage that he just took very, very quickly. So usually... Oh, shit! Well, Spirit's doing the same thing, actually. Spirit's double drop looking less impactful than Clem's single drop, though. Were those not full? Maybe they unloaded it into the awaiting arms of the Marines. Something happened there. But Clem will lose his 2 SCVs. But at the time in which Clem was able to get revenge for his SCVs is pretty important. So Spirit barely had any time in which he actually was favorable in the economy. You see the little spike, I guess. It's kind of the 2 times. So this is the spike in which he, before he lost SCVs. And then this is maybe when Clem pulled his SCVs, something like that. But anyhow, point is now things have really stabilized, they've equalized, and Spirits seems to have been a little bit quicker about getting his own upgrade. So 2-2, 15, 20 seconds ahead of his opponents. Clem's 4th CC also a little bit farther behind that of Spirits. And does Clem have any advantages? Slight army supply advantage. Second factory on the way for Spirit as he also sets up his little missile turret rings, so he will be fairly protected from further doom drops. Second factory is pretty powerful. Oh, okay, Clem does have his own, just doesn't have the economy to build 2 at a time. He's also going back into Vikings, as I guess we're heading into more of that late game TvT with both players getting their 4th bases on location. We will be heading into the classic 3 starport versus 8 barracks decision. Sensor towers aplenty, missile turrets for Spirit, not so much for Clem. Oh, Spirit's gonna be able to take advantage of that, though. And Clem is the one to first position out on the map. That is a lot of tanks. I see, he's just gonna unload them as far forward as possible. Yeah. Expedite the attack. Get past this very brutal choke right on top of the 3rd CC, and that looks like it might be going down. That's a lot of SCVs, but that's also a lot of Marines. Okay, the SCVs will win out on the repair. 12 SCVs go down. Don't know how many Marines lost their lives to the tank fire. It doesn't look to be that many, and Clem holds a very strong position. Spirit's not likely to take his third here or here after all, so he just is not mining from the third. And the Liberator looks like it didn't really do a whole lot, to be honest. Maybe he got a couple of SCV kills, I'm not sure. But most of the SCV kills were from the third CC attack. And Clem now also managing to get some units onto a fusion core, I think? Yeah, well, tanks certainly. Tanks do eventually siege up. One will lose its life. The Spirit did predict this maneuver. Nicely done by Spirit, trying to keep things calm, even while scrambling around. It's Clem's 4th CC on location. Now mining 5th is already on the way. 2-2 is done for both parties, but Spirit, again, quicker to the upgrades. Might have an upgrade lead. Oh, the tank's entirely on siege. Spirit actually rushes forward to try and take advantage of it. It is still so much army, however, that even though the Marines caught the tanks sleeping a little bit, once they siege up, you can't really stay very much longer. Spirits now really struggling without that third CC economy. 66 SCV, certainly not mining at the full potential. Means that Spirit cannot remax after taking some blows. There's Clem is now accruing a bank. Even has a secondary army heading off to the right side, figuring the command center will try to land somewhere. And I said, you know, he really couldn't land here or here. Of course, he could try, but this is what I meant. Clem would be able to punish it. That's exactly what Clem's doing. Is that enough Marines to shoot this one down? Maybe. No SCVs on the repair. The Marines will not gun after it. They'll just try and trade out. But we have Clem coming in from the left side as well. Spirit supply not looking so hot as his tanks get totally concaved upon. And that third CC finally meets its end. Liberator pops out on the left side where the Marines are not. We'll get tons of extra shots off. And actually the high ground Marines of Spirit doing a decent job stopping Clem from getting up that natural ramp. But Spirit is down to 3 bases. His production very close to being camped as well. And Clem is totally fine back at home. That is the real problem. This is not a base trade. This is just Clem finding damage and Spirit desperately trying to hold on. But it will not be good enough. GG. Clem with 2-1. We'll move on to the grand finals to face Lambo in a best of 5 TvZ.